A Navy SEAL with a brain injury creates. This is exactly what we're going to get into today. Hey, what's up, FlowChat fam? This is Chris, CEO and co-founder of FlowChat, sales tool built by sales professional. Look, when you find the right people and you talk to more of them per day, it equals more results and more sales. And that's what the conversations that we get to have today. These are real entrepreneurs getting real results. And today was a Navy SEAL, and in the training, a life-changing event took place and threw him on a completely different course. And I wanted everyone listening, watching to hear this story because it's going to inspire you, it's going to encourage you, and it's going to refocus you in a way that you haven't quite felt or experienced before. This is exactly why you need to meet fellow FlowChat member, Zach Paul. Zach, how's it going, man?
What's going on, Chris?
Hey, thanks. I appreciate you coming out here today. This is a rare episode. It's a very rare episode for everyone listening and watching, because we're actually going to hit more of your story first and hang around because you're going to see how this applies to his world, why he's in the FlowChat community and how he's using FlowChat. And he just recently had an interesting breakthrough epiphany moment, which you'll all get to hear about in the second half. But we got to talk about this Navy SEAL thing. So first off, why did you even join the Navy SEALs?
Yeah, great question. So, if we go back far enough in my life, I was a weak, skinny kid. I got bullied as a child, had a lot of difficulties growing up, as did many people. And I wanted to do something. I wanted to grow. I wanted to explore. And college wasn't for me at the time. I just wanted to become something bigger than myself. And I also wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to do something for all those reasons that pointed me to the military. And when I was looking into the military, I decided that not only was I going to join, but I was going to do the toughest, baddest job that I could possibly find. Biggest challenge I could find, turns out, that was Navy SEAls. So
I would say that's a challenge.
A little bit, so being I weighed 120 pounds, maybe on a good day, right, soaking wet. Never played a sport in my life, except for a year of baseball, in which I struck out every single time. So, I found a mentor, right? I found an ex-SEAL who lived 10 minutes from where my parents lived, or had a gym 10 minutes from where my parents lived. Walked in there and told him I was going to go to SEAL training and become a SEAL. And he kind of laughed at me, challenged me to do a workout. I fell on my ass and, kept falling. Right? I'd get up, try to work out, I'd fall. Get up, try to climb a rope, and I'd fall. Try to squat, fall, right? Just over and over and over again.
So there was some skill and strength that had to be built. You said, just a little bit. You said you were 120 pounds. What do you weigh now?
About 180.
What? You put on 60 pounds. I was going to say, Zach was on part of our pipeline strategy sessions, internal weekly trainings. And, he puts down the phone. He was at the squat rack or whatever. I was like, dude, your quads don't look like, you weigh 120 pounds anymore. So 180 at this point. So you had a lot of muscle to build.
I did. I spent a year training with this guy, Mr. Miyagi, Karate Kid style montage.
Oh, I thought his name was actually Mr. Miyagi. I was like, what?
He went by, colloquially, he was known as Taco.
Taco.
I'm not going to say that name, but nickname, big Mexican guy with a bunch of
That's amazing. I think you and I need to create code names before the end of this conversation, but continue. So your Taco is training you.
Yeah. So he's training me, and it's I'm running, I'm swimming, I'm lifting weights, I'm carrying people, I'm going and laying in the cold lakes of Washington, right? I'm simulating all the stuff that I'm going to be doing in training, right? And throughout this year, I put on muscle, I put on strength, and I build mental toughness as well. Mental resiliency, and I actually prepared both physically and mentally for training. Now, they say SEAL training is 10% physical, 90% mental. I would agree with that, but the physical part is not, it's no joke, right? There's minimum.
That 10% you'll notice.
Yeah, right? It's kind of, you got to have that part as a minimum standard, because, by the time I got to training, right, I was never the fastest or the biggest or the strongest. We had collegiate wrestlers and Olympic runners and, all sorts of physical specimens in our class. But, when it comes time to hitting that cold water, when it comes time to staying up late and polishing your boots all night just to get yelled at in the morning, when you're designed, in a course that's designed for you to fail, right? It's not like you kind of fail. It's designed for you to fail. It's to take you to that point of failure and see what you do. How do you react to when you fail and when it sucks and when it hurts and when everything in you is screaming to quit and to just keep going, right? That's baked into training. So a lot of times you'll see guys, that's the piece that makes or breaks guys. So, I show up to training, mentally prepared. Physically, I was bottom third of the class probably, but I made it, right? I did enough of the physical evolutions. Get through Hell Week and move into the next pieces of training.
When you got through Hell Week, let's go back to the day after Hell Week. What's the first thing you did? You just had a full meal? You slept? What'd you do?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Hell Week is 5.5 days. It starts on Sunday night, Sunday evening, runs sundown, and it gets finished. You finish on Friday afternoon. During that entire time, there's no sleep except for two very brief naps that are actually worse than not just staying awake. You don't sleep. You're running the whole time. You're cold, wet, sandy, miserable. And again, it's designed to test what do you know. Your body, they break your body in the first hour. Right? In the first hour, your muscles
You're like
lose.
shot. Forget. Yeah.
Yeah. So then you push through for another 5.5 days on no, once you're already broken, right? See what you do. Can you respond to that, right? We showed up with 250 guys, 255, excuse me, on day one, and 79 of us finished Hell Week. So
Dang. Okay.
it's no joke. But that being said, it's doable, right? I did it. Anybody could do it if you just, the secret, right? Here's the secret to getting through buds, getting through Hell Week. You just decide to do it. You decide to do it and you decide you're not going to quit. And no matter what happens, you're just going to keep doing it. And this is how I've approached business as well, right? By all logic, I should have quit business by now, right? After failing so much. But, I've decided to be successful at it. So I'm going to keep going and keep going. And that was the same mindset that I took through SEAL training, through buds, and through Hell Week.
Got it. So you get through that. It's Friday afternoon, Friday night. And do you feel amazing? Do you feel like, how do you feel?
It hurts and everything, everything hurts and it feels like I'm dying physically.
Yeah, physically. I would
My
think so.
legs are, my legs are so swollen. I don't have knees or ankles anymore, right? They're just like swollen sausages from hip to toe. We finished Friday afternoon, right? It's, they mess with your head, right? You think it's going to keep going. You don't know what day it is. They kind of make you question your sanity. Then all of a sudden you're done. And there's just this feeling of pride
Mm.
that I can't put into words. They say, to those, I'd accomplished something that I didn't, statistically should have been impossible, right? But I did it, and there was just this sense of pride, this sense of relief that it's done, but also this feeling that like, yeah, it's done, but like we're not done.
Yeah.
It's Friday,
You just
but
got through
training,
Hell Week.
yeah, but training continues on Monday, right? It's like you hear about um, Kobe and Michael Jordan and these great athletes, right? They'll tell you like, the day after you win the championship, like you're back on the court, you're back
Yeah.
training, right? There's
Job not
no,
done.
yeah, exactly. So there's no, this is the mindset. I spend a lot of time studying the mindset of champions and high performers and to kind of cultivate this mindset, right? Because I didn't always have this. Everything was created from the ground up, really. But yeah,
Got
you
it.
finish on Friday. There's a sense of pride. You go to you go through medical checks. Right? You go. They give you these scrub brushes, and you scrape the sand out of the chafed skin that you're missing, just to make sure you don't get infections. And then you take the world's greatest shower. Go back to your barracks room to find an extra large pizza and a large bottle of Gatorade. You put that down, no problem, and then called my parents, called my friends, called my mentor, and slept. Woke up the next day. You do medical checks, and I think a lot of my friends had quit too. One of the hardest parts of it,
Mm.
there's two hard parts that they don't tell you about, right? One is the amount of skin that gets rubbed off. It's excruciating. It's so bad. I still have scars from some of the chafing. But the other one is watching your friends quit, right? I think this is very analogous to going to war and seeing your friends die and get, losing people in combat. But seeing, these guys that I'd gone to boot camp with and gone to, through training with all up to this point, like watching these guys give up on themselves was heartbreaking, right? I remember seeing my best friend quit the first night, he's crying. I'm like,
First night. Dang.
yeah, I'm mad at him. I'm like, man, we were like, come on, man. Like, but
Yeah.
there's no time for it. Like, you got to just keep going. So I remember there were a couple of new guys that I met that I kind of knew. I think we went to the mall the next day and just walked around just to like move our bodies and get out of, out just. All right. So yeah, so we finished Friday and we come in and there's, you go through medical checks. And you use these scrub brushes, medical brushes to scrape the sand out of our wounds from the day. Eat a whole pizza, giant bottle of Gatorade, sleep through the night. The next morning, wake up, go through medical checks again just to make sure that everybody's okay. And then the weekend is yours. So I kind of look around, you look around to see who's left, right? Who's still standing, who's still made it through the week. And a couple guys that I knew from boot camp, we kind of knew each other, decided to hang out, and I was the only one that had a car. So okay, I'm gonna go. Let's go out in town. Let's just go out and get away from base. Let's go out where there's people. Go. So we went to the mall and walked around at the mall for a few hours. Probably getting some very funny looks. I got three, healthy and shape young men, walking like 90-year-old women that can barely get around.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then so you have the weekend to enjoy it, and then on Monday it's right back to training. Right, there's no
No
downtime.
break. You got the acceptance, but yeah, still gotta, job not done. You gotta accomplish the mission. So let's talk about this. You got through Hell Week, but then there was a life-changing event that took place, and let's dive into that. You mentioned it was an injury. So when and how did it happen?
Yeah. So after Hell Week, you move. You go through some additional training on reconnaissance and how to, some weapon stuff and how to assault and take over a beach. And then you go into diving. And in dive phase, I'd gotten injured again. Um, and this ended up. So it turns out I had very brittle bones. I actually had a bunch of fractures in my legs, and I re-broke my ankle. So while I was laid off, I ended up getting temporarily pulled out of training, basically to heal up, and then eventually go back and finish it out. And so I was out for about 9 months or so, like
Oh
fully
wow.
recovered from injuries and from basically getting ready to go back to training and finish everything out. And 2 weeks before I'm supposed to check in, I wake up in the hospital. And once again, everything hurts and it feels like I'm dying. Only this time I'm in the hospital with no idea what happened or
How
how I
you
got
got
there.
there?
Yeah,
That'd be a trip.
it was bizarre, right? I knew my mind was in shambles. The first week or so, first week or two of memories are just kind of these, almost these flashes, right? Imagine a series of Polaroids, like, nurse giving you helping in the shower, and my commanding officer looking over me, like, shaking his head, like this guy's done. My
And then
parents,
you just pass back out.
yeah, in and out of consciousness, right? Almost like a
Holy
movie.
crap.
And come to find out that I'd been, of all the things that could have happened to me, from joining the Navy and eventually, going through SEAL training and everything else, I'd been hit by a drunk driver. The
Wow.
night, yeah, I was out with some friends, celebrate doing like a little Christmas party get together thing. And I was walking home, and I was walking across the street. A drunk driver blew through the intersection and hit me while I was in the
Oh, you
crosswalk.
mean like you were hit by a drunk driver? Like you, not you weren't in a
Oh yeah,
car. You weren't in anything else. Like a car just physically hit your body, and
oh yeah. I'm walking across the street. Car hits me. My feet leave the ground, and my head was the first thing to hit.
wow. Okay.
Yeah, sucks. I do not recommend it for anybody. Don't try this at home. It's like super bad for you.
It's not good for health. Okay,
But
that's pretty intense, man. Okay. So it was a brain injury, drunk driver hit you. You wake up in a hospital, you're like in and out of consciousness for weeks, for months? Like how long did this go on?
I was in the hospital for a week or so. Um, and after that, I was released to go home, right? Because the thing with brain injuries is they just tell you, they do their best to keep you alive. But there's a period where it's a 50-50 gamble. They're like, yeah, he might make it, he might not. We've done what we can. From there, they turn you loose to go home, and they say, oh, yeah, take these painkillers and, good luck. We'll hope for the best. Oh, by the way, you can't go back and finish SEAL training because I'd had bleeding inside of my brain. Due to the severity of the brain injury, I wasn't even deployable. So even if I wanted to get a different job in the military, I was too much of a liability to even do really any job
Jeez. Okay.
in the entire military. So much less, not only could I not be a SEAL, but I couldn't even stay in the military. So I found out that I was going to be discharged, medically discharged, and there was this massive loss, this sense of identity, this thing that I had
Mm,
worked so hard for years and put my heart and soul and everything I had into was all of a sudden taken away from me in the blink of an eye like that. Right. And it's just a reminder. I still think about this is how quickly life can change. Your entire life can change in an instant. Um, you know, Wrong place at the wrong time or make a wrong decision and, things can change. And, it puts me, now being where I'm at, and we'll get to my story of recovery and healing and all that. But it's really given me a sense of gratitude and appreciation for life and for being here and how great things can be because there's an alternate world where I'm not here. And, I think about that a lot. And it's, having experienced as close to death as you can get without actually crossing over, um, motivates me to do what I can with my life that I have and make it as good as I can for not only for myself, but for other people,
yeah.
because that's what it's all about. If that's not what we're doing, what's the point?
Yeah, there's a really powerful phrase that I heard recently from um, another entrepreneur, if I remember correctly. But the phrase is, if you don't see yourself doing it forever, like don't do it for a day. And
Hmm.
part of the punchline is life is short, and if you're not like, if it's really isn't that important, then like maybe look at your priorities kind of thing, and like really focus on doing what's important to you and those around you, with the time that you have, prioritizing that time. So like coming close to death, basically, like you did, and you're in and out and trying to remember who you are and what's going on. Like, dude, like that's that. I haven't got to hear the story yet, so I was kind of interested. I just knew that you had some type of brain injury and it shaped your life, changed your life quite a bit. But I didn't get to hear, the details here. Okay, so you go home. You have to. Well, go ahead.
I was gonna say I've got a book coming out soon too. I'll send you a copy of that when it's done because that goes into
Yeah.
you get the real details in that one.
Oh, I bet, man. Oh my, yeah. Please. It's an insane
Yeah.
story. You're wrestling with something really really difficult. You think you're going one way. There's a lot of identity wrapped around, being in military in general, but also a Navy SEAL. It's all gone. What is your new identity?
I struggle with that.
Mm.
So, I guess it depends. Are we talking about now or are we talking about then?
Now.
So now it's funny. Now I've actually really worked hard to detach myself from having an identity
Mm.
because I'm Zach. How do you answer that age old question of who am I? Right? Is it my name? Is it the things that I've done? Is it my thoughts? Is it my actions?
Mm.
Is it my background and my history? There's an infinite number of ways to answer that question,
True.
and I've really tried to anytime I've assigned myself to an identity, right? The military is really, really good at this. They indoctrinate you and bring you into an identity, right? It's still in my head, right? I'm a United States sailor. I support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America. I obey the orders. I serve with honor, courage, and commitment. Right? They indoctrinate this stuff into you over and over and over again until you take it on as your identity,
Yeah.
right? Same with skills, right? In times of uncertainty, there's a special breed of warrior. I am that warrior. I wear my trident with, like, it's, they give it all
Yes.
to you. It's still
Yep.
there. But I found that anytime then I got out of that and I tried on the identity of, boyfriend, right? Rock star boyfriend. Like just, I threw my
Mm.
entire identity into this one relationship, right? Then I threw on the identity of firefighter, right? I decided I was going to be a firefighter, tried that for a couple of years. And I tried on all these different hats before I realized that every one I stepped into was actually more like putting me into a cage. And each cage I stepped into, you could expand to fill that volume, but I'm more than just any one identity. So it's hard. It's a hard question to answer, and I
Yeah.
almost
No, it's okay. You
don't.
don't. I think that is the answer. The answer is I applied it and I was like, that's not quite the right answer, and I'm still searching for what it is. And I think if we're all honest, we're really all still, don't have it figured out, and we're searching in our own way. So, how did this? How did you and FlowChat collide?
So I got flow chatted. Um, like I'm
It's
a,
quickly becoming a verb. Yes. Okay.
yeah, it's great. Like I actually got that from my friend Robin. I hit her with some automation once, and she's like, "Ah, you botted me," and I love that. So
So,
yeah, I got a message, I believe, from Bruno, who hit me with enough of the sequence. I ended up getting on a call with April, who's absolutely fantastic. Your entire team is just absolutely incredible, by the way, just from
well, thank you.
start to finish. Every single person is just absolutely lovely. Got on the call with April, and she showed me something that blew my mind. As far as it was like the answer that it's like the answer that I'd been searching for that I didn't know I needed. Because
Cool.
at the time, right, I'd been in business for about 2 years. Um, the challenge with my business was trying to figure out how do I take my experience from Navy SEAL training and then putting my life back together afterwards, right, with Buddhist monks and neuroscientists and learning how to rewire a brain and optimize and perform and be happy, right?
Yeah.
It's like how do they? I have a lot of very good stuff and valuable stuff that changes lives,
Yeah.
um, you know, in phenomenal ways. But the piece I struggled with was how do I actually turn this into a business?
How do you share
And
that?
so I
How do you make that useful for others?
Exactly. Yeah. How do I communicate it to others without, in a way that they understand that they get value out of?
Yeah.
That was kind of you're talking about identity, right? The place I landed on was like, I'm the collection of all these experiences and things that I've done. And if I don't put them towards good and towards helping people, like it means nothing. All my pain, all my misery, all my difficulties
Yeah.
don't mean anything if I don't actually do anything impactful with them. So I saw the demo and I was sold. I was probably sold 10 minutes into the conversation, honestly.
That's
By
awesome.
the time we got to the pitch, I was like, let me save you some time. How do I sign up?
Yeah. Let's move forward. Okay. That's awesome. Nice work, April.
Yeah, so I signed up. I decided to do the fast track because I I recognize that the best way to get good at anything is to let the experts help you. And so part of the, or excuse me, not the fast track, the pro option, which includes your team building out a pipeline. So I'm like, yeah, I want the pros to help me build out a pipeline. So I got in and I just got it, I started using it, went through all the trainings, started attending all the calls, which are worth their weight in gold. And just as of this morning, I'd essentially proven the concept of a pipeline, and I finally have a working pipeline that lets me go from not knowing somebody to starting a conversation with them, bringing them into my world, bringing them into my community, and getting them, asking for my content. Hey, can I get this training? Hey, can I watch this video? There's a couple of nuances in my particular pipeline, but it works. And like just this morning, I just saw it works from A to Z. And so it's like for the first time in the 2 years since I started this business, I feel like I finally solved this massive, massive headache, almost to the point where I'm like, okay, it's been 2 years of struggle, but now it's like, oh, that was so easy. Now that I've got FlowChat, I'm like, oh, that seems so easy. So I got to remember that it was 2 years of pulling my hair out and frustrations and difficulties before getting it. But yeah, both the technology as well as you and Sean being available, going on these calls and helping dial in the messaging and dial in the sequence. Like I've got it. Like I've got the program, I've got the sequence, and to the point where now I can hand it off to an appointment setter and say, here are these steps to do A to Z to book appointments. It's fantastic.
That's badass, man. I appreciate you sharing that story. It's really powerful, I think, for others to hear this, because you're not the only one struggling out there. There's other, business owners, entrepreneurs that are just like fighting just to make it. They're kind of in one category. There's another category where they're making it, but they're like working really freaking hard day in, day out to make it. They're not sure if they're going to make it, but they are making it. They're surviving, but they're not thriving. And then there's that other bucket, of entrepreneurs that are thriving. And so, I mean, you're not alone, but that epiphany moment of, wait a minute, here's how I can find, new leads, a new source, build relationship with them and qualify them, and then begin working with the ones that are qualified is a sales system. And not everyone has a sales system. Yeah.
Not at all. And just to that, I also want to add too, because I know this in the current market, right? It's very popular for people to say, "Oh, it's easy, right? I made $1 million in 10 days with 3 easy steps." And I think a lot of you, like you said, it's a struggle. It's hard. Like it's not only is it hard, but it's supposed to be hard, right? If it was easy, everybody would do it. Everybody would be good at it, and then it would be hard again, right? So I just, it is hard. It's supposed to be hard, and the challenge of it is what makes those who, kind of like Hell Week, right? Can you stay in the game long enough? Can you keep going and keep fighting and keep moving forward enough to eventually make it? But it's supposed to be hard. It's hard by design. And anybody out there that tells you it's easy or they had overnight success, they're lying. It's not true.
They are lying.
That being said, as hard as it is, FlowChat makes it significantly easier. Like so easy, it's stupid.
Well, you went through a lot of life experience over years of training, right? 120 pounds to 180 pounds and change. And that's just physically. We're not talking mentally, emotionally, probably spiritually. Like there's all these different iterations and intricacies that you had to learn and acquire on your path, right? So what you jump in and you get to have some of these epiphany moments. A lot of the process and thing that has been built with, Sean and myself and Bruno and the whole team, like Sean's has sold over $130 million worth of product and service in his 20 plus year career. And, I've been at it for 13 years. And so Sean had successful business before I met him. I had successful businesses before I met him. Bruno had success, before we all met each other and came together. So you're looking at decades of combined experience and sucking and just, what am I doing? How am I going to make it? 3 months before my first son was born, I took on over $30,000 worth of debt. I hadn't paid myself in a year, and I had to let go 5 of my employees in a different industry, like 8 years ago, right? And so, figure out life. And it's like, there's just some of those things where it's like, yeah, I guess it's not for me. In my mind, the first thing I did was start a new business. The last thing I did, I was like, I wasn't even thinking like, maybe I'll just get a job. And not that there's anything wrong with that. But to your point, the people that persevere and just decide and they just freaking do it, and live long enough to tell the story are usually the good ones to listen to. So, and that's why we're listening to you today, man. I appreciate you sharing your story of going through Hell Week, and then it all being ripped away, using that same mentality after you could actually start remembering it. And rebuilding yourself, going this new direction in business, and you're in your journey, and we see you show up, man. Not everyone does, right? But you're consistently there, testing and adjusting, and that is the work, and you will reap the rewards from it. So, hey, before we get to the last question today, people leaning into this, knowing that they need to rebuild, knowing that they need a sales process, and they're struggling with their own roadblocks and challenges. This is some of your expertise, is helping unlock that and rebuild those things to go to new heights. Where's the best place to find you?
Yeah, great question. So, best place to find me is Facebook is a great way to get in contact with me directly. Facebook.com/Zach David Paul. It's my personal profile. My group is the one on screen, Neuroscience Secrets of High Performers. Facebook.com/Neuroscience Secrets. Additionally, we've got a new website that's getting up and running. It'll be up by the time this interview goes live, seal2shark.com.
Sweet.
If you go through there, there's a lot more about my story, my background, what it is that I actually do for people, as well as there's some free training on there that will change your life, change your mind, change the way that you approach problem solving in general. And I'd also add too, just kind of what we were just talking about a minute ago too, is I have this part of my mindset that's helped me be successful at this is that I don't fail. I don't fail, which doesn't mean that I don't have failures, right? But it doesn't mean I don't have things that go wrong, right? I make a mistake at least one a day, right? I have a lot of things go wrong. I've made a lot of mistakes in business. I've had a lot of things not work out. But what I mean when I say I don't fail is I either win, it either works, or I learn from it, right? There's no such
Yeah.
thing as a failure to me. So either I try something and I test it, and either if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, great, I found a way that doesn't work. Like Thomas Edison said, it took
Yeah.
him 1,000 attempts to invent the light bulb, so the story goes. And when asked about it, he said, I didn't fail 999 times. I just found 999 ways not to make a light bulb. And that's just that mindset has helped me keep going through, even when I've doubted myself and haven't, even when it seems dark and it seems like may not work out. It's just that next level of success, that next thing you want, it could be just around the corner. You're always one more away. And when I was going through Hell Week, I never thought about I need to make it through this whole week. I always thought about just need to make it to the next meal, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need to make it to the end of this run. Sometimes I just need to make it down the road, and then I'll get to the next thing. But there's always
Focus.
there's always yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just like that target that you can actually lock onto. I mean, even the training earlier today, there's someone asking about, well, I got this big problem. I need to book more calls and do all this. I was like, we just need to start with being able to find and qualify one person successfully, one lead successfully. And we need to be able to do that consistently on a daily basis. And once we get that, then let's work on the next step. Just like you're saying, it's a focus exercise, which is really powerful. Hey, before the last question that I always like to ask is essentially why. I'm going to give you a second to think here. I like to know what drives people. Somebody that creates, just in general, right? If you create a program, you're writing music, you're acting, you're creating art, you're an entrepreneur. There's a certain sense of vulnerability that goes with that path. You got to put yourself out there. You got to put all of yourself into something, right? And not everyone loves it. So you face all different types of things. It's a really vulnerable place. The people that lean in and keep doing it, showing up, why? That always grabs my attention. So, Zach, why do you keep showing up?
It's a great question. There's a few reasons. So one is I don't have a better option. I can't go back to the military. I don't do well in the corporate world. Working, I decided that I was sick of wearing uniforms and other people's dressing and grooming standards and schedules. I wanted the power and the freedom and autonomy over my own life. So I have nothing. I have nothing else to go back to. If I don't make this work, I do not have another option. That's one level of it. The next level of it, though, is that I've had a lot of terrible things happen to me, and a lot of it's been very painful, and there's been a lot of suffering. And to be honest, just after the brain injury, there were a lot of times where I almost took my own life because it got so dark and it was so bad that, my rock bottom moment was me laying on the couch, thinking of all the different ways that I could kill myself without it looking like a suicide. And that was the catalyst. That moment was so terrifying to me that was the catalyst for me to figure out how to actually rebuild and rewire and put my life back together. And that's how I ended up developing the shark method, which is what I use with clients. And even though I've healed, it's taken 10 years and a lot of time, blood, sweat, tears, and effort. I've cracked the code and I've figured out what works, and life is great for me today. I'm happy. I'm at peace. I wake up every morning excited to be myself and live my life that I'm living, but I haven't forgotten how bad it was, right? I'll never forget how bad it was. The scars will never heal. There's things that will always be there. And I know there's other people that are suffering and are in that same place. And I feel this sense of duty and obligation to help other people, because the worst, there's this insult we had in the military where if you said to somebody, okay, I got mine, or it's this idea that, okay, you got yours and left everybody else to struggle on their own.
Yeah.
And it's just the most dishonorable thing that I could imagine. So to me, it would be very self-indulgent to go live this awesome life and do all these cool things while there's people out there that are struggling and need my help and can benefit and have their lives changed by what I do. And this really became aware to me when I prevented 2 suicides through my work. I prevented at least 2 divorces. There's families, there's children that still have their parents because of everything that I've been through, and because I've been able to take what I do and put it out there into the world and, face a lot of rejections and face a lot of setbacks. But, to me, this is not, this is just the beginning, right? I know what I have is power. I know what I have is powerful, and it comes from this sense of duty.
Zach, I appreciate you coming out and spending time with the other FlowChat connectors and the FlowChat fam, and everyone else listening, watching this, wherever you're seeing this content. You've inspired me, and I know you've inspired other people, so I appreciate you coming out today.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. Appreciate you having me on. Appreciate you and the entire, you, Sean, Bruno, Ashley, the entire FlowChat team, all the, the unsung heroes who I haven't met yet. Absolutely fantastic. I appreciate everything. April, thanks for bringing me into the world. And it's been absolutely fantastic. And this is just the beginning. I'm excited to see where this goes yet. I'm excited to see where you guys go. FlowChat, you've been around for, I think you said 18 months, but I'm super with how powerful this software and this technology is and how great you guys are at selling by chat. I'm amazed this hasn't become the industry standard, and I expect it probably will in the next couple of years or so, whenever you guys decide to take it there. So I'm honored to be on as an early adopter, and it's just been absolutely fantastic. So thank you.
That's awesome, Zach. Appreciate it. And we thank you listening and watching today. Your time and attention is insanely valuable. We take it very seriously, as we do our own. This is a place for other entrepreneurs to learn from real people that are getting real results in the market today. And we just want to remind you that entrepreneurship can be lonely, but it doesn't have to be. And the FlowChat fam and community, that's what we're here for, is to rally together. I would not be here talking to you if it was not for other entrepreneurial masterminds and communities that let me know that I wasn't alone, that I was crazy, but I wasn't the only crazy one. And when it comes to building products and services and making the world a better place and creating more impact, this is the place to come hang out and learn from the best. We're going to keep bringing great content here. Appreciate y'all. We'll see you on the next one.